One thing I know for a fact is nobody on their deathbed, their last words were, "I wish I spent more time at my corporate office job." Zero. What's up, YouTube? Today we're over in Cinnamon, beautiful northern part of Bali, and by a river over here. And it would have been a sin not to record in this pristine environment today. So I decided to trek out here and share my thoughts while I reflect on being an entrepreneur later in life versus when I did it when I was a lot younger, a couple of decades ago. So I'd like to share with you in just a few minutes the synthesis of what I've discovered over time, and hope that it helps all the founders out there, regardless of what age you are, on your journey into entrepreneurship. So let's get at this. Now, when I was younger, in my 30s, that was when I did my first startup out in Silicon Valley. And that experience ended up getting me banned by Apple, which not only did it kick me out of their app store, but they also killed my developer account, sent me a nasty note saying I could never log in again. And that I'll save for another episode on why that happened. But essentially that experience, what I learned from there, reflecting back now that I'm 50, was the strengths I had when I was younger had to do with resilience, both mental and physical. So physical meaning like I could just pull all-nighters in a row and recover like within a day. And that just led to me being able to hustle really hard in terms of effort, right? Like physical effort, just going at it. And that includes also mental effort, meaning like I would be able to recover mentally, like clear my mind and get back on track quicker when I was younger. And so in both the mental and physical capacities, the resilience factor was way higher. And I definitely maximized in that. And that's where you hear the word, yeah, you got to do the startup hustle and just really go at it and just, go pedal to the metal, because you can, right? That is the age and time to put and floor the pedal to the metal. The other thing that upon reflecting now, looking back on my earlier life doing the startup, that I realized I had more in abundance of is the creativity and open-mindedness and willing to explore and try different things. Not that I can't do that now and I'm not doing it now, but it was a heightened sense of that when I was younger. So this is just like doing all crazy things while hustling, right? Like, going to the parking lot and kind of like stalking people and trying to catch them as they walk out the door to do a pitch, or coming up with crazy ideas or ideas somebody never thought of. And just, no matter how stupid or dumb the idea might have sounded, if you thought it through and through critical thinking, it made sense to you, that you would just go for it and see what would happen. Worst case, you'd do it and you'd learn something from it, right? And even if it didn't work out. That was definitely at a higher level when I was younger. Just the breadth and open-mindedness of possibilities to just try out and just being fearless about doing it. And so those two things I would say are factors that when I was younger, I definitely capitalized on. And to all the people watching this who are in that younger age group, I would definitely say that you should be capitalizing on those two things, among other things, but those two stand out as things to really capitalize on at that age. And look, it's not about being better or worse when you're older or younger. It's just about you're in different configurations, you yourself, in life at different points in time. And for you to really understand, okay, this is my current configuration. And so how do I, given this configuration, really maximize the success rate by doing things customized to my configuration? And when you're young, those two things stand out as benefits in the configuration at a young age. But there are things, at a young age that you don't have. And one of them is just simply put, knowledge, experience, and information. Like you just haven't lived life long enough. You haven't screwed up enough. You haven't succeeded enough. You haven't just gone through and met all kinds of different people in different conditions and situations to know and learn how things could evolve, right? If you do this. And so you have that lack of just aggregate information compared to somebody who's older. You also, because of a function of time, unless you hit the lottery jackpot, you don't have the capital or the accumulated wealth, essentially. And the wealth is not just, don't think about it from a currency or money point of view, but it's also a wealth in other aspects of life, including your network, the number of people you know, the number of influential people you know, more importantly, who will then come back and help you on your journey when you do a startup later on in life. These things you don't really have when you're younger. And so those are things you want to start building out when you're younger as you spend time and effort. Like build out your network. Even if you can't extract value from the network you're building immediately, you should understand that that is a long game you need to play, because you will be able to extract value from that network later on in life. And so that segues into the role that corporates play in between the young and old, is this corporate thing. And in my life, what I did was, corporations and large companies and jobs they're essentially a means to an end. They are not the end. And don't fall for that trap. If you believe that your corporate job is the end and not a means to an end, you'll find out that when you get to the end, whether or not you reach the summit and become a CEO, or beyond that as a board director or chairman of the board even, you'll realize that it's empty up there. It's not what was promised to you and what you thought it would be when you attained the summit of the mountain. And I know this, even though I maybe haven't attained the top. I've attained enough to know from people who have attained the top, who have told me that there's emptiness when they got there. It's not what they thought, right? They were promised, like, basically heaven and paradise and glory, and when they got there, it was emptiness. It was like, what else now, right? And so a lot of them, what they do is they don't know what more to do except to join another board if they got to the board above a CEO level, and just be board members of multiple boards in different companies, and / maybe be an investor, angel investor, or VC, or that kind of stuff, just to, because these type A people don't just like play golf and do nothing for the rest of their lives. They need to be engaged, and that's all they know what to do. So that's all they're doing, right? And that becomes the end in their life, but it doesn't provide the fulfillment. And so that is something to not get confused with. And I'm trying to tell people, like, there are people here, I got to a certain stage, there are people who are younger still around. I'm trying to tell people who are still working that don't get that confused, because what corporate jobs should be is a tool, a means to an end. Let me tell you what the tool is. Obviously, the tool is to accumulate wealth, get paid a salary, get paid bonuses, get paid deferred bonuses, get paid whatever retirement related assets that they're willing to distribute to you. Definitely that. But beyond that, there's a lot of things that you can gain out of your corporate job, right? And it's not just money. So one of the things you can leverage the corporate in order to build your network as a young person growing up, as I said earlier, is to use a company in order to build your network. So if you happen to be working for a company that has spent millions of dollars in building a reputation and brand name, use that company brand name to open doors and meet people. Go to conference, say, I work for blah, 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 top tier company. They spent a lot of money making that brand name. Show it, right? And open the door to meetings with people, go to conferences, have meetings with other people, other companies. Just build and meet as many people as possible and generate your surface area so that you start building your own brand, and people don't know you as a worker for the company, but they begin to know you as you, right? And so that you can then double down on when you move to another company. They will see you for you, not you who worked for other company competitor, baby, but they want to hire you for that reason. And so that's an example of how you can use the company to build yourself up and use them to your advantage. Look, they're using you. Companies are not your family. They're using you, right? And most people, they don't realize that they need to use the company back, right? It's a symbiotic relationship. It's not a one-way relationship. You're not a serf in some fiefdom, right? And so you need to take advantage, and you need to be creative. Like, what other ways can the company provide for you to build yourself up, to open doors and expand your network, aside from just accumulating monetary wealth? There are many, many ways. I'll give you an example. In the last company I worked for, which was Temasek, a pretty well-known, well-branded, sovereign linked investment company, it opened a lot of doors for me. Now, I mean, I'm not saying go and take advantage in a nefarious way. Like, it's as you're doing your work to take advantage as well. So while I was doing the work for them, I would use the company brand name to also then build my own network. And, it was a symbiotic. They benefited from me doing this, while as much as, or maybe a little bit less, but me benefiting from them building my own network, right? And the network platform I chose to build it on was on LinkedIn. And within 2 years, I built to an audience of over 40,000 people. And, I kind of like peaked there, and I'm saying, like, that's enough, right? And now I need to move on and build and expand my network in other areas and other platforms, including this one, which is YouTube. And I've been on this journey for some months now. And if you've subscribed and like this video, I would greatly appreciate it, because again, I'm just trying to get the word out to help as many people as possible. I don't get paid by sponsors. They come ask for me for sponsorship, even though I've just got a small audience. They're really desperate or really smart in marketing to have found me. But I'm not trying to sell you something that you don't need. That's not the game here. So yeah, if you want to help the channel, help me spread the word out, please do subscribe and give it a like. Now, going back to the corporates, after I got banned by Apple and stopped my startup, I actually went back to a corporate job in life. And the whole point of doing that is, it's like a gas station, right? I went back to refuel. I went back to refuel to get more capital, accumulate more wealth that I had spent in my earlier startup, and also to further build out my network, which is what I just described to you and how I did it on LinkedIn, for example. So I did that, right? And now the time came to do the startup again, which I'm doing here with FoFty at this age of 50. And this time around, it's a very, very, very different setup. My configuration, number one, is different. So I'm not young anymore. I don't have the resilience physically and mentally that I once had. I'm not pulling 5 day all-nighters in a row. I can't, right? I'm gonna go Joe Biden on myself if I did that. So no, I don't do those things, and I know not to, right? Instead, what I do have now is I have accumulated wealth. I have a larger network than I had when I was younger. I know more people now, and these are people of influence that matter to me in my world. And I know how to leverage that and use that to my advantage. So even if I can't like hustle in the way that I did, I don't have to as much anymore, because now I have this multiplier effect going for me with my wealth and network that I've built up, along with the third thing that I do have now, which is an accumulated amount of knowledge and experience. That this is the critical factor. This, you want to call it intuition, you want to call it business acumen, whatever you want to call it, it's essentially a pattern recognition engine that you've developed in your brain over the many decades of living, where you can recognize things at a higher rate of accuracy quicker than you were able to do when you were younger. And so what that translates to is an ability to make high quality decisions in less amount of time. And if you keep doing that and stack them up over and over and over, you're going to get a cone of success rate that is a lot higher than when you were younger. And that's the key thing that as you get older, you need to start leveraging on, because that's what differentiates somebody who's older and more experienced versus somebody who's younger and less experienced. Look, the simplest way I can break this down to you is, if you've ever done AI and machine learning and you've ever worked with training a model, you all know you got to feed the AI data, right? And so when you feed the data to the AI model in the very beginning, the AI model has no idea what the heck to do with the data. It's just a bunch of noise, literally, right? And after running through a lot of training steps, if you want to call it, suddenly the noise, there's some patterns that emerge, right, because of the data you're feeding it, ultimately to the point where you run it long enough, the pattern that's emerging becomes crystallized, and then, if you want to call it a level of intelligence or an intuition or what do you want to call it, but something develops from the AI model, from the data that you've been feeding it for over and over and over again. And that is essentially what you're doing to yourself as a human going through the years of life. When you're still young, you don't know what's going on, so it's all noise to you. But the key is you need to take in as much data and information by trying, by hustling, by being creative. If you don't do those things, you're not going to accumulate the data. And just like an AI model, no data in, no intelligence out. And so as a young person, which is like the beginning of an AI model, you're just about getting the data, right? Just go try and do as many things as possible. And you'll see that over time, just like an AI model, a pattern will start emerging and you will begin to crystallize who you are actually after all the information has been processed by your brain throughout your life. The other thing about AI is there's two kinds of teaching going on and learning, if you will, in AI. There's one generic thing called supervised learning, which is you tell the AI, like, this is right, no, that's wrong, that's wrong. And then there's a second one, which is called the unsupervised learning, which you literally just throw all the data to the model, the type of data that you think makes sense to it, and then the model will just go through the iterations of steps and trying to just learn and generate the pattern by itself. And so those are the two models, and that's no different than life, right? So there's supervised learning. You can find a mentor, you can find a good boss, find people who are more experienced who's willing to kind of supervise you and guide you as you go through your career and take in the information. But then there's also this unsupervised learning component of your life, and that is just noise, right? You just got to try and do different things and learn from it yourself. You got to do both. You can't, if you do just, let's say, supervised learning, you're going to be a professor and an academic. You're going to be very rigid in the way you think, just like the way they teach you in the classroom, and you're not going to be able to have that unsupervised learning component, if you want to call it business smarts or street smarts or intuitive skill, business acumen. These things you won't have, right? Because you didn't do the unsupervised learning. And if you do all unsupervised learning, well, you're going to be like the mafia, right? I mean, you'd be street smarts, but you're not going to have any of the structured learning that together, if you put, is going to be something that's going to make a huge difference between you and the rest of the people doing this. Now, in closing, I'm going to share an analogy with you that summarizes everything that I've said up to this point, and that has to do with sports. Now, in sports, anytime you see a rookie or a newbie in the first year of the game, she or he is going to always be going at 120% every second of the time they're in the game, because they got something to prove, they're young, they can go all out, and that's what they do, right? But then when you get older and you become a veteran of the game, you're not always 120% every second of the game. I mean, for example, just look at Lionel Messi in football. I mean, this guy, if you watch how he plays now, he's like walking around the football field like 90+% of the time. But then somehow he magically is positioned at the right place and time to make that pass or do a shot on goal where it's a game winner. And so that's the difference, is like the veterans, rather than forcing the game, lets the game come to them. And they do this through the wisdom and knowledge they've accumulated over many years. And so they go in the game, and instead of like hustling 120, 130%, what they do is they observe, like, okay, which is the team we're playing today? Like, what are their strengths and weaknesses, and how are their players doing today? And not only the opposing team, but in my team, like, how are my teammates doing? Is so-and-so not shooting well today, or feeling a little like weak or not fast today? Then I'll compensate in that way. And so they adjust to the situation, and that's how they're able to use that and the knowledge and experience that developed to put themselves in the position to make the game winners. And let me tell you, rookies tend to not win the championships, right? It's really rare for a rookie to win a championship. I mean, there's, like, for example, in basketball, I can only think of like Magic Johnson, who won the NBA championship as a rookie. Like, usually no. I mean, as a leading player, usually no, right? It's usually the veterans who win the championships. And so this is a message I'm trying to partake to you is, there are studies that show that older startup founders and entrepreneurs are more successful than the college dropout 20-year-olds. I know media likes to portray Mark Zuckerberg and all these young ones becoming billionaires because it makes a good story and it's good clickbait and everybody loves to get entertained. But there are many studies, including one from Harvard, that shows that that simply is not the case statistically speaking. When you look at the data over many years, it's actually people who are in their 40s and particularly 50s who do startups and entrepreneurial endeavors who have the highest success rate. And so why is that? Well, it's exactly what I told you, right? The veterans are the ones who tend to win the championships. So I hope this message has helped both the younger people who are watching this and also the older people watching this who are considering about doing a startup themselves. And even those who are in a corporate job, the message to you I have was, it's not an end, but a means to an end. It's like a gas station. You go there to refuel, right? And what are you fueling for? Well, to do the thing that you ultimately want to do in life that'll give you the fulfillment on your deathbed, saying that you did that, which is not going to be a corporate job. Let me guarantee you that, because one thing I know for a fact is nobody on their deathbed, their last words were, I wish I spent more time at my corporate office job. Zero. Now with that, I'll see you all in the next episode. Peace.